I wanted to ask you a bit more about that because obviously music is a massive part of your journey and the way
Yes,
that you explain theology of the body. So, could you maybe explain to us the experience you have when you listen to even secular music and how it helped you fall deeper in love with God? And I'm thinking about that Flaming Lips song specifically,
sure.
or if any other songs that may be a bit more recent.
Yeah, well, I'll go back to when I was 8 years old, and I heard Bruce Springsteen on the radio singing his '70s anthem, "Born to Run." I'm lying in my bed, and Springsteen is singing this song about trying to get somewhere, and he's running. He wants to get to this place. He doesn't know what it is, but he's trying to get there, and he's trying to get there with a girl named Wendy. Little did I know that 17 years later, I would marry a girl named Wendy. This song was like a prophecy of my whole life. And at the end of this song, he says to Wendy, "Someday, girl, I don't know when, we're going to get to that place where we really want to go, and we'll walk in the sun. But till then, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run." And then Springsteen just cracks open his rib cage, and he lets this cosmic cry come out of his heart. And it's just this groan, this groan comes out of him. And there I am lying in my bed, and it's like the ceiling splits open and I'm staring into the mystery of the universe. Whatever Springsteen wanted, I wanted it too. But here's the
Mm.
tragedy of my Catholic upbringing, which wasn't, in many ways, wasn't very Catholic. It was quite anti-Catholic. It wasn't the real Catholicism I was getting, because I could summarize religion class with one word: boring. Nobody in my religion class, my religion teachers never connected the dots for me between what I experienced when my heart cracked open hearing Springsteen on the radio and what I was learning in religion class. Good art, and this is important, good art. There's a there's a lot of bad art out there, right? And there's a lot of bad secular music. I'm not here to baptize it all or say it's all good. It's not all good. A lot of it is really messed up. But I do want to say this, and it's a basic principle of Catholic cosmology. If we get this wrong, we get the whole universe wrong. Here's the principle: the devil doesn't have his own clay. All he can do is take God's clay, and remember, God looked at everything he made and said, "Behold, it's very good." The devil takes God's clay and he twists it up, right? I call rock and rollers, I call them the twisted mystics, because they're on to something. They're looking for something, but it often gets twisted up. But there's still something good in there that got twisted up. So music, even if it's twisted up, there's something good in there that has gotten twisted up. And we need to learn, with God's help, to untwist it. When I came to my faith, I mean, music was a huge part of my childhood, my teenage years. I joined a band when I was 14 years old, and I was in lots of bands as a teenager and into my 20s. And when I came to my faith in my early 20s, I had to look at my music collection, and I threw a lot of it out because a lot of it was really twisted up stuff. But later in life, as I grew and as I matured in my Christian life, I realized that there was something in that music I was attracted to beyond just the distortion. I was attracted to the goodness that was in there that had gotten twisted up. And the Lord was able to help me untwist what was twisted up so that I could rediscover the goodness. And it was a turning point for me maybe 15 years ago, 16 years ago, when I was getting to know a priest who's been my spiritual director now for 16 years. And he said to me, "Tell me about your prayer life." And I said, one of the biggest struggles I have in my prayer life is I go to pray and I try to quiet my heart to listen to what God might be saying to me. And I start hearing songs in my head. And he got a smile on his face, and he said, "You think that's a distraction?" And I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to listen to God, and I'm hearing Bono or Bon Jovi or Springsteen or whoever else. I'm hearing these songs in my head." And he said, "Well, is that music important to you? Like, does it have some connection with your heart?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that's the music I grew up listening to." And he said, "You don't think God knows the language of your heart? You don't think God can speak to you through Bruce Springsteen or through U2?" And I had never thought about it really. He said, "The next time you go to pray and you hear a song come into your mind or your heart, listen to the lyrics and see if God is trying to speak to you through those lyrics." Dom, it changed my life. For 10 years, I thought that was a distraction in prayer, when all along God was trying to sing to my heart. And he knows the language that I speak. He knows the language that you speak. And if he's going to be speaking to us in prayer, he's going to speak to us through the language of our hearts. A week does not go by that I don't hear music in my heart when I'm praying. And sometimes maybe I'm just making it up. It's possible. But I would say 80 to 90% of the time that happens, it's the way heaven is speaking to my heart.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I remember one of my first experiences of this was, I can't remember the name of the band now, but I was just listening to this one song on repeat all the time, and there's this one line that just like, it wasn't by a Christian band, which what struck me first, because the line is, "Nail in my hand from my creator, you gave me life, now show me how to live." And I'm like, that's Jesus on the cross.
Yes,
and like
yes.
I was just saying what this means, but there's a non-Christian band singing this very Christian line. But more recently, I don't know if I think you've talked on this, a movie that came out, well, was remade recently, with Lady Gaga and what's the fella called?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. A Star Is
Star
Born.
Is Born. Yeah. The Shallow song. Just recently, I've just been playing that on guitar, and I've just been like savoring the words. It's just like that yearning of the heart. It's like, if you just listen to those lyrics, it's like, tell me something, girl. Are you bored of this modern world?
Happy in this modern world, or do you want
Yeah.
more? Is there something
Yeah.
that you're searching for? Yeah, see,
Yeah,
that's
yes.
the thing I love about these artists, is they're just being honest. They're looking in their hearts and they're saying what's in there, and then they get it out. They get it out. And sometimes it's not really pretty. Sometimes it's raw and rough and even ugly, but it's honest. And this is what makes good art. It's always honest. As John Paul II says in his letter to artists, he says, even when art expresses some of the darkest and most disturbing aspects of our humanity, it is still in some way a cry for redemption, right? And it can form a bridge to religious experience. None of this is to say that, we don't need to be discerning. We do need to be discerning. The wheat and the weeds grow together. But just because there's weeds in something doesn't mean we have to throw the whole thing out. We need to say, okay, there are weeds. I can put that aside, but there's a lot of wheat right here as well, and I can benefit from that. And to do otherwise is really not a Catholic view of the world. When we put too strict a separation between the sacred and the secular, we're really acting against the very principle of the incarnation, right? There is a marriage between the sacred and the secular. That's the very principle of the incarnation. That's the very principle of heaven coming to earth, of God taking flesh, that there is a marriage between the sacred and the secular, between heaven and earth. And when we rupture that and we say, no, it has to be something totally holy and sacred over here, and something, and the rest of the world, that's just evil. That's not a Catholic view of the universe. That's a puritanical view of the universe. It's a dualistic view of the universe. It's a ruptured, heretical view of the universe. The wheat and the weeds grow together. And remember what Jesus says here. He says we have to be discerning, of course, but he says don't be too zealous about pulling the weeds out. Because if you're too zealous in pulling those weeds out, you're also going to pull the wheat up with it. So, yeah, we have to be discerning, but we have to recognize, yeah, there's something really good there. There's something my heart was attracted to in listening to that music growing up, and it wasn't just something inherently bad. There was something good that drew my heart. Let me quote here from one of my books where I quote Springsteen himself. This was 30 years after I heard that song on the radio, Born to Run. Bruce Springsteen was inducting U2, my other favorite band, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Springsteen himself told me 30 years later what happened to me when I was 8 years old and I heard that song on the radio. Listen to this. He says, a great rock band searches for the same kind of combustible force that fueled the expansion of the universe after the Big Bang. They want the earth to shake and spit fire. They want the sky to split apart and for God to pour out. Then he paused and he said a bit sheepishly, it's embarrassing to want so much and expect so much from music, except sometimes it happens. There it is. That's what happened to me when I was 8 years old, listening to Springsteen on the radio. And 30 years later, Springsteen explained it to me. The sky split open and God fell out when I was 8 years old. God was wooing my heart through that song. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's like just exactly what you said. Like, to expect so much from music is ridiculous, but like sometimes it happens, and I feel like sometimes that speaks to us all. It's like to expect. I guess, because we're called to be holy as our Father in heaven is holy. To expect that level of holiness from me, that's ridiculous. But you know what? If I keep playing the music, if I keep writing the songs, sometimes I might achieve it. And I guess like going through this music and how music can bring the, almost sacramental, it kind of brings that invisible to a sort of tangible.
It is like, sacramental. It's not almost sacramental. It is sacramental. That's what good art does. It makes tangible and visible what is invisible and intangible. That's what it does. And we were talking earlier about the Bible, starting with the marriage of man and woman, ending with the marriage of Christ and the church. Well, guess what's right in the middle? When you bring those two marriages together to meet in the middle, you're right in the Song of Songs, right? The Bible claims that it has the lyrics to the greatest song ever written. And guess what it's all about? The Song of Songs is erotic love poetry, sacred, erotic love poetry. And every love song that you hear on the radio, as twisted up as it might be, it's a twisted, broken human attempt to sing the Song of Songs. And if you can untwist it, you're going to find yourself in the poetry of the Song of Songs. Rock and roll music is the twisting up of the Song of Songs. That's really what it is. Untwist it, and you're in the Song of Songs. And not all of it's twisted up. I mean, some of it's pretty straightforward, beautiful.
Would that be you too, right?
Again, you have to be discerning. You have to be discerning.
Yes.
This is not to canonize all the music out there, not at all. You have to be discerning.